Hey guys, welcome back. So with continuing our coverage on Ultimate Spider-Man, there's a lot to unpack with this one, because we got the Sinister Six getting things started, we're getting our introduction to Ultimate Spider Armor Mark 1, and Uncle Ben, along with J. Jonah Jameson, they're getting ready to write the biggest story that this world has ever seen. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so with us getting back into Ultimate Spider-Man, this now brings us into the month of September, where at first we pick up with Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson, who we find grabbing a few drinks, quite a few, while telling the bartender that they're clearly celebrating their success, though of course we can quickly tell that they're being sarcastic. But it isn't until MJ meets up with the fellas where we find out what exactly this success is that they're celebrating. And one would think that they actually would be celebrating, with this being the first month of their startup, the paper, being live. But as it turns out, they're not happy with how things are starting so far. I mean, it throws MJ off, because she's been handling the marketing, and the paper's popularity has only been getting better. But the problem that Ben and Jonah are having with the status of the paper is that 8 of their top 10 stories are about Spider-Man. And it's not so much that they didn't want these stories to do well, but it's more so the case of them feeling like the Spider-Man stories are the only stories of theirs that people are reading, because 8 out of their top 10 stories are about Spider-Man, and that's because they only have 8 Spider-Man stories. And that's not why they started the paper after leaving the Bugle. They started the paper because they wanted to cover the stories no one else is covering. They wanted to cover the topics that people are afraid to talk about. So MJ tells them, this is amazing, but you guys aren't getting it. So Jonah tells her like, okay, well, fill us in. So MJ lets them know they have the fastest growing online presence since Simon Williams, who apparently blew up overnight on this earth and fell off hard. And I mean, he may or may not show up at some point as Wonder Man, but we'll just have to wait and see. But the point that MJ's making is that even though the overnight success of the paper is primarily built around people who want to read about Spider-Man, this success has still grown them a massive new audience that's already reached over several 100,000 readers. So at this rate, over the next 6 months, the paper is going to be bigger than the Bugle. So right away, Jonah's like, oh, I do like the sound of that. Though on the other hand, Ben, he does express a bit of concern, even though he's undoubtedly grateful for MJ's help with the marketing. But right here, he tells MJ that him and Jonah got to get back to work on one of those other stories they need people to see. But MJ stops him right there and she tells him, listen to me. Of course they love the icing, but I'm betting that they'll also love the cake. So the only thing you need to keep in mind is this. These numbers, what they mean is the devil cannot cast you out. They mean you can write whatever you want and people will see it. Now, do you guys want to continue this sad country song? Or should we all get back to work? Which really, it's what these guys needed to hear right now. It puts a battery in their back and it gives them a bit more reassurance that their stories are going to make it to the people who need to see them. And following this, next we head over to Peter and Harry, who've both been called in by Otto to get their freedom. Which at first this has Peter like, hey, cool. So that's a credit card that gets paid off every month, no matter what you spend? So Harry comes in with the well, actually, having money just makes life a little more frictionless, easier, which doesn't mean happiness, and it certainly doesn't mean freedom. Freedom is answering to no one, no matter what. So Peter's just like, I think some people call that selfishness, Harry. And so Harry's like, no, actually, that would be. And Otto just stops him right there because it's like, enough of that. But I will say, I do believe that little back and forth between Peter and Harry, as trivial as it might seem, it almost seems like a bit of an early sign that's kind of just letting us know how differently these two see the world. But going forward, Otto lets them know that he's called them here because he's come up with some solutions that'll allow Peter and Harry to get off of the Stark-Stain network, which is what he means by the two of them getting their freedom. So in Harry's case, since his suit is very much an Iron Man suit, all he needs to do is a firmware update. But in Peter's case, since his Picotech suit is highly advanced, it's still beyond the reach of Otto's understanding. So as a solution, he's made Peter another suit. But when he asks Peter if he'd like to see it, Peter's just like, give me 1 second, as he goes off to the side to talk it over with his Picotech suit. Cause long story short, Peter's suit's pretty much like the iPhone 16. When he first got it, no AI. That came in an update later. But jokes aside, at this point, with him spending so much time with it and choosing the suit's AI to model after him, so when Peter talks to it, it's like he's talking to himself. So now this has created the predicament where he has to figure out what to do with it. And Otto's suggestion is not sounding too enticing, because he practically wants to put it in a a cage. And Peter's suit is not feeling that. So what Peter in his current suit end up deciding is to just have the suit stay at home, because Tony Stark already knows where Peter lives, and I mean that's where he dropped out the suit for Peter in the first place, which literally was the point when Peter was most vulnerable. And the suit even tells him it'll be like the best home defense system he's ever had. So Peter and the suit both agree to it. And all that's left now is to see the new suit, which Otto calls the Spider Armor Mark 1. Which I gotta say, to me, it very much looks like a cross between Spider Armor Mark 3 and the Iron Spider suit from Civil War. But right here, Otto tells him this suit has a number of the same functionalities as his current suit, minus the ability of camouflage, which is Otto like, hey, that's beyond me. But what he ended up doing was optimizing his web shooters to run off of a cartridge system. So with the new webs, they will be capable of holding an additional 5 tons of weight. And Otto goes on to say it's equipped with rocket launchers, concussion bombs, stun webs, and a cutting laser, just to name a few of the additions. The suit is also bullet, EMP, and explosion proof. It's made from a heavy-duty titanium-based alloy and sealed with a flexible second skin. Nothing's getting inside that isn't microscopic. And most importantly, it's connected to all of our systems. You will have full access to Oscorp's data files, and we will have full access to your diagnostics to ensure maximum performance, of course. So after saying this, Otto's just like, well, what do you think? And Peter responds telling him, I think I'm good. And Otto's like, what does that mean? You're good. So Peter tells him, it means no, man. No. That's no. So Harry just steps in and he translates this for Otto because it's not registering. And he lets Otto know that he's been doing a really good job. But Spider-Man needs something he can move around in. He needs something more agile. And Otto, he takes the criticism well, because he even says perhaps the suit's a bit too generalized, or maybe even a tad over designed. So he just lets them know there is a simpler solution. So Peter's just like, cool, whatever that is, I'll take it. And following this, for a brief moment, we jump back to Ben and J. Jonah Jameson, who are both working on the story that Ben mentioned to MJ earlier. And the reason why this story is so substantial is because their source, Robbie Robertson, came through with a ton of information on Stain Stark, including financials, internal memos, legal paperwork. It's a lot. So now this begs the question of, once they get into the thick of this, what exactly are they gonna find? Because we know this whole thing goes deep, like Maker's Council deep. So yeah, Ben and Jonah, they're about to start digging. So it's only a matter of time before they find something that could potentially put the two of them in danger. And now when we go back to Peter and Harry, Peter's rocking the new suit, which looks just like the other one, except this one's made with a spandex Kevlar composite. But while they're here, Harry asks Peter if him and MJ want to go with Harry and Gwen on a trip in December, which right away has Peter like, come on man, that's Christmas. So he tells Harry it'll probably be best if him and Gwen spend the holidays with Peter and MJ and the kids, because they'll have extended family over and everything. So Harry's just like, he'll check with Gwen, and they leave it at that. But next, Peter's spider sense goes off, and Harry's just like, what? So Peter tells him ever since he got his powers, sometimes he gets this feeling like something bad's about to happen. So Harry's just like, oh, that's because something bad is always about to happen. And then boom, Harry's hit out of nowhere and his suit is shut down. Which now makes for at least 2 times that I can think of off the top of my head that Peter's spider sense is going off. And Peter's like, look out. He jumps out the way and Harry gets hit. But right out the gate, this attack immediately shuts down Harry's suit, as we quickly find out that this was done by Walter Hardy, the Black Cat, who as we saw is one of the members of the new Sinister Six. But at this point, with him coming out here by himself, he wanted to even the odds very quickly, before even introducing himself. But right now, as Harry's trying to get his suit back up and running, the Black Cat cracks Peter with that whip. So for a moment, the two of these guys go at it here. But when Peter asked why did he attack his friend, the Goblin, Black Cat is just like, actually, I was aiming for you. And he even goes on to tell him, I suppose the moral of the story is men like me, we cannot miss. So he goes for another whip attack, which has Peter believing that he missed this time, only to quickly find out that the Black Cat hit his target, which quickly puts Peter in a very compromised position. And during this time, the Black Cat's telling him how the Kingpin put together his team and how he has them going after Spider-Man and the Goblin, while over to the side, Harry's trying to get back in the fight. So as the Black Cat has Spider-Man in a chokehold, he's telling Peter how he angered the gods by trying to lay siege on Olympus. So for those sins, their lives are forfeit. But when Peter asks him what does he get out of it, the Black Cat's just like, that's none of your business. So after that, Peter just like, well, I guess I got something to live for, and he just tosses this guy and webs him up. Cause it's like, dude, did you really think you was about to choke out Spider-Man? And it has Peter quite impressed about what Otto was able to do with these new webs and the new suit. But right here, the Black Cat then tells him, I suppose living is for the young, and I am an old man. This day has been coming for some time, which really is just him giving the speech that someone would give when they believe their time is up. But it just has Spider-Man like, dude, what are you doing? So the Black Cat's like, you are going to kill me now, aren't you? And Spider-Man's just like, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. So next he goes to check on Harry, who's almost got his suit rebooted at this point. But while he's doing this, the Black Cat is able to cut himself free. And as he approaches them, Harry's suit completes its boot. So his AI, which has the voice of his father, Norman, it tells him, boot complete, armor's back online, don't think, son, just act. So Harry knocks Peter out the way, and he blasts the Black Cat off of the roof. And as they look down on him, he's still alive. And it reminds me of that scene from Four Brothers when dude was trying to climb out the window.
You think he dead? Nah, he ain't dead. He's just Let's go talk to him now.
Cause poor Walter is still alive, out here using his 9th life in issue 9. So Peter tells Harry to call an ambulance for the guy. And I think it's a good thing that they didn't go down there and try to talk to him, because that just wouldn't be a good look. But after the ambulance arrives, Peter's just like, what the hell, Harry? And Harry's just like, he did what he had to do, cause dude had a weapon, Peter had his back turned. But right here, Peter's like, I didn't feel anything, cause his spider sense didn't go off. He wasn't in danger. But Harry, he's not able to see this any different than the way that he's decided to, because he heard what the Black Cat said about Fisk and the others who are coming after them, and he's not taking that lightly. And he even tells Peter how, in the larger picture, his parents are gone because of them, and Aunt May too. But even with that being the case, Peter tells Harry that they're supposed to be better than that. They have to be. So Harry pauses for a moment, just before saying, you need to know something, Peter. If I'm put to the choice, and one of them is about to kill you, I will never hesitate. So hearing this has Peter quiet for a moment. But to break the tension, he just tells Harry that he's still invited for Christmas. And Harry's just like, sorry, got plans, as he goes on to tease Peter about the new suit and they get out of there. But I gotta say, I really like how this once again brought us to that point where there's that emphasis on how different Peter and Harry see things. Because much like before, there's no compromise on either end. And we know at some point that's gonna play a part where something's gonna happen. And these two guys are going to see it two completely different ways. And because they each have such strong integrity, neither one of them are going to budge. So yeah, it's coming. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.